Okay, so I guess this is the start of a new vlog. Um, and I didn't want to start a new vlog until I'd finished Library at Mount Char, which I just finished, and I'm confused. um, I don't really know what I just read or what the point of it really was. Um, like, I just. So, Library at Mount Char is basically about these gods or godlike figures. It was really interesting, but never really got into any of the characters. They were all very dislikable. And I think for me also, this book was too graphic, too blunt, too edgelord esque in like every sense of the word. Like like I said, none of the characters are likable. They're all actually pretty terrible people. Um, and so, besides there being a ton of violence, like graphic violence against humans and animals, there's also a lot of like slurs, both homophobic and racial. Um, just a lot of stuff that rubbed me the wrong way, and so that really like made me not want to read it, even though I was like, what the crap is happening? I want to figure out how this plan works. But I don't think there were any lessons learned at the end of it. I don't think that, I just think it was kind of like the cycle restarted. You don't really even get any answers on anything. Um, and like our main character becomes the replacement of God, which, like, I mean, the summary says it, so it's not a spoiler, but she becomes the replacement for this God that she thought of was just like, and like the things that she had to go through, the trauma that she faced, and then she's just like fine. She's just fine at the end of all of this. Like, this book describes rape, this book describes murder, like, and all of these things have happened to the main character, like murdered and raped and then resurrected her entire life. And like, it was just like there was stuff in there that was not necessary. And I get the whole point of wanting a book to be brutal and dark and all that stuff, but like this book took it to an unnecessary place, took it to that like Saw movie type of place where it's like torture porn. And I didn't appreciate that. I didn't think that it added any value to the story if it was kind of just there to be there. Um, and while a unique plot, I gave it 2 stars at the end. So I will check back in when I figured out what to start reading next. I did return a bunch of the books that I had gotten from the library because I just knew I wasn't going to get to any of them. And reading Library at Mount Char honestly just kind of put me off most of them. So I just kept the 3 that I was really, really interested in, which was Strange Grace, Small Spaces, and then, what was the other one? Language of Thorns. So I have those, and I'm gonna read those, hopefully, soon. I think also I might pick up a book in Spanish. I want to read El Príncipe de las Nieblas. Um, that sounds good. It kind of reminds me of a little bit more mystical version of Small Spaces. But then again, I also kind of just like want to take a break and read something light and fluffy and not violent at all. So like the horror aspects of Small Spaces is really appealing to me right now. So maybe I'll go read a couple new adult romances. I'll check in if I do that too, because those are always fun. yeah, I will check back in when I have something new. Okay, so I am checking back in, not because I have a reading update, because I haven't done any reading since last night, but I do have plans to unhaul and sell some books back to Half Price Books on my way to work today. So I'm still in my comfy clothes because my house is actually freezing. Um, and so I'm just going to get ready for work and then head out. But I wanted to show basically Melanie, because she's the only one that really watches me at this point. I wanted to show Mel the books that I'm unhauling, even though I already Snapchatted her. You know what? It's fine. We're just gonna do it. So the first book that I'm unhauling is, I didn't even realize that this was a signed copy because I haven't looked at this book in years. But it's the third book in the Selection series. It's The One by Kiera Cass. I read this book. I've read all the books almost. All but two I've read that I have here to unhaul. And they're all books that, like, I either didn't finish reading or I decently liked, but I don't see myself rereading it, like ever. I have no desire to reread them. And, like, I just don't really care about them. And for, like, my ideal library that I want to have in my house one day, I want it to be, like, all my favorite books that I would love to, like, go and reread, or that I just really loved and think about a lot, or, like, affected me in some way. So yeah, first book that I'm getting rid of is The One, because Selection series was like fun, trashy type of YA bachelor series, and I read all 5 books in it, but never gonna reread them. And if I do, I'll get them from the library. Second book I did not finish, and I feel bad because I got it kind of as a gift, but I got it as a gift because my aunt wasn't gonna finish it, and that's the Cuckoo's Calling, or Cuckoo's Calling, by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. Yeah, this isn't just isn't my thing. I don't like detective-based true crime. It was kind of boring. I only really got like 60 pages into it, I think, and then I DNF'd it. Next book is Every Day by David Levithan. I decently liked this when I read it. I thought it was an interesting concept. But I'm never gonna reread it. I remember everything that happens anyway, and, like, it didn't really affect me that much. I just thought it was interesting. I didn't really care, and I've heard, because it's been years since I've read this, like, I think I read it maybe when I was in high school, and I've heard that there's actually a lot of fat shaming in it, so I don't think I would want to reread it, because that might be, like, triggering. Yeah, okay. Second book that I am unhauling, or not second book, fourth book I'm unhauling, is Dragonfly and Amber, and then also, I might as well do these together because they're from the same series, and Voyager, the second and third books in the Outlander series. Now, I loved Outlander. Like, I loved Outlander. It's still one of my favorite books. I love it, and I want the giant floppy paperback of it, but it kind of almost, like, it works as a standalone. It didn't need a series, and, like, while this book was good, and, like, Diana Gabaldon's writing is really good, this book was kind of boring. It took me a long time to get through it. And, like, Outlander took me a decently long time to get through, but I enjoyed it every time I was reading it. And for this one, I just didn't really enjoy it. And I also don't like the mass market paperbacks of these because they're, like, hella hard to read because they're thick as fuck. So yeah, I decently like Dragonfly and Amber, but I'm not going to reread it. If I was going to reread anything, it would be the original Outlander book. And then Voyager, I read, like, the first 150 pages of this, and I realized that it wasn't really going to be centered around Claire and Jamie. And it was going to be centered around their kid and, like, some weird dude, Robert or whatever his name is. And that they were all, like, old now. And I hated that. I was like, the fuck? Like, I don't give a shit about their kid, really. Like, and it's just been something that, like, I've never wanted to reread. I'm sure it's amazing. Oh my god, there's my bookmark in there. I'm sure it's amazing. I'm sure you grow to love their daughter and everything. But I just don't see myself rereading it. And again, if I ever do want to read it, I'm going to get it from the library. And also, in addition, these two books and like the Outlander series in general, not like, besides the fact that they haven't just really been appealing to me anymore, is that I've heard like there's a lot of controversy about them. They're like kind of problematic. And like I see that, and it's just not something that I would be in the mood for right now. Next book that I am unhauling is The Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. This has a super interesting premise, and the book is gorgeous. Like, even on the inside, I don't know if you can see these little shinies. That's like all over the inside of the book too. I read this on audiobook, and it was boring. Like, and the character, like the main character, was just annoying. I could not stand her. And it sucked because she was realistic, because it's like a period piece kind of novel. This is set in like Regency England, or not Regency England, but just like Victorian England. And all great, all things that I like. I love period pieces. But she was too accurate to what women were actually like at that time. And I know that sounds like a stupid critique, but it was infuriating for me to read her being like, I can't do this because I'm a weak woman. Like, I love it when there's these period pieces, but the women, while being like based in that time, are strong for their time, and like, they don't consider themselves weak. They are headstrong and they fight for what they want. And she wasn't ever like that. She was kind of just like whiny and like, meh, I'm weak because I'm a girl. And maybe, I can't do this. Maybe I just want to get married. Like, fuck off. Also, you don't really, like, you see, like, the demons and stuff that they're supposed to deal with, but she doesn't really get into it until like the very end of the book, and I'm just never gonna continue with the series. And like, this is the part that sucks about unhauling, because it's like I want to hold on to all these books because like I read them and I have memories attached to all of them, but also like being realistic, I know I'm not gonna reread these. I know that they're just gonna sit somewhere. Like, these, like Dragonfly and Amber and all those books have all been sitting hella dusty, like underneath a little like cabinet that I have in my room, and I have not touched them until today for like years. So yeah, that's a problem. And the last book that I am unhauling, sadly, is Circe by Madeline Miller. This book is beautifully written. This book is very well researched. This book is gorgeous. And I literally wanted to keep it just because of how pretty it is. But, like I said, I'm not going to reread it. This was another one that was just, like, boring. Like, you read about this goddess that isn't goddess enough for the titans that she lives with, and she gets exiled, and she learns that she's a witch and how to develop her powers. But it was just so boring. I wanted more action. I know this is supposed to be retelling, but I wanted her taking more agency for herself, besides taking agency for herself in like the last 20 pages. Again, it's like her kind of being like, I don't want to disregard any trauma that she goes through, but I do want Like, I wanted her to find her strength and fight back against the forces that were trying to oppress her. Like, literally all of her other siblings go off and do these great things and are powerful and, like, do this stuff. And she just kind of, like, sits there on her island and, like, I don't know. It was a very meh 3-star read for me. Which sucks, because it's, like, beautifully written. But, you know, it is what it is. So, I'm going to get ready now, because I'm actually running a little bit late. And I'm going to try to see if I have time to stop up at Half Price Books before I go to work at 5. So I'm going to need to pedal really fast. But I will check back in later if I actually do something with my life that involves reading.